Anyway, the internet has been ablaze the last couple of days ever since this Cat Williams Shannon Sharp interview came out. Um, I guess most people's reaction is just being shocked to him calling out specific people, and I've seen a lot of people post the receipts of what he said, going back to years ago. So it's not like it's some new information or whatever. People were like, "Oh, we might have seen this interview, but we didn't really understand what he was saying." Like I've seen like Dave Chappelle was like, oh, like his first joke he led with at the Def Comedy Jam 25 year. I guess it was like an event. They had all the comedians show up. They're like, I guess the question everybody was asking is, Cat Williams gonna show up? And Cat Williams was right there. So like they had that connection. They already knew. They already
Yeah.
knew. That's
Yeah.
basically them communicating with one question, one joke,
Yeah.
and they already knew what it was. Or all of the receipts about the male comedians wearing dresses and stuff like that, and him calling out specific people. Like The Rock doing it
Yeah.
in that Tooth Fairy movie, Martin Lawrence doing
Yeah.
it,
Ricky
Brandon T.
Smiley.
Jackson doing it, and then Brandon T. Jackson had an interview a few years ago where he was like, basically that ruined his career. Yeah, Ricky Smiley thing,
It's
Earthquake,
such a
Steve Harvey,
weird
Cedric the
concept.
Entertainer,
Yeah.
Chris Rock. It was definitely a bombshell of an
It's so
interview.
wild because so many people have definitely done that dress thing. Like it's
Yeah,
so.
and I've never. Well, the one that hurts me the most is definitely Martin Lawrence, because for anybody that knows Martin Lawrence's importance to comedy, you would understand how crazy it is that he did that, because he really didn't need to. But at the same time, he did that with the Shanae character in Martin, and I kind of get it. Like it made the show better, but at the same time, I would have rather him not do that.
Yeah.
But you see, Robin Williams did the same thing. Like, there's definitely some, they talk about the humiliation ritual.
Yeah.
I think to a certain extent there is that a little bit, because the way,
It's such a weird thing though.
yeah, the way Dave Chappelle was describing them trying to get him to do it. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've ever seen that, and I wish I had the clip so we could play it for
What, like
y'all.
they're like pressing him?
They were pressing him.
But do you feel like it's necessary? Like it's almost like the same thing when people talk about like the Illuminati, like how I don't think the Illuminati actually exists, but I do think there's like a lot of weird stuff that they get people to do for the sake of like money and just like that world. Do you necessarily think it's a humiliation ritual? Like they're trying to like do a whole ritual to humiliate somebody, or do you think it comes down to money? Because they know there's money in men humiliating themselves. I guess it still is humiliation, right? But there is money in that bracket of playing a woman.
I think that,
They care about money at the end of the day.
yeah, they care about money, but that's like what Cat Williams was saying. He was like, it can't be a money thing, because if you've seen any of my movies and things I've been in before, yeah, you can always argue, yeah, maybe if we put him in a dress, it might sell more. But
Yeah.
they're
But
still
it
getting
still
a ton of, they're
sells.
still getting a
Yeah.
ton of money without doing that. And that's what he was trying to say about the R scene in Friday, where he has the black man getting R'd in the bathroom. Like, he's trying to explain to him, like, you can not do that and it's still gonna sell the same. So why are you trying to
Even with
intentionally?
Snowfall, they didn't need that scene.
Yeah,
That was really weird.
yeah. So
That was actually really out of pocket.
yeah, so
Especially in a Friday, like in a comedian show, like Snowfall's more drama, but in a comedian show, I think that's would be funny.
yeah, so it's just like, do I think that there's an actual like agenda to make those things happen? For me, it's kind of hard not to feel that way when it seems like there's so much emphasis and desire to make that type of thing happen, if that makes sense. Because you can't tell me that Kevin Hart or The Rock or any of these people need to do those things, like, because they're selling regardless.
Yeah,
They're doing $1 billion movies in the box office anyway.
yeah,
What more do you want?
yeah,
So to me, because there's such a focus on the emasculation of men,
yeah.
it's like,
Something
there
there,
has to be
something.
something there, because
Especially black men, like there
yeah,
has to be
specifically
something.
because I can't think of any.
I mean, Robin Williams did it.
Right, but that was Mrs. Doubtfire, and that was so
Yeah.
long ago. But I can't think
What's his
of
name? That movie Hairspray.
John Travolta.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like there almost has to be something
there has
there,
to be something.
or even like
It might not be as much with the white men, but there definitely is a lot of white men that do it too. So there has to be something like
there was there's I don't think there's an Illuminati, yeah, like you were saying. Like I don't think there's Illuminati per se.
Yeah, it's not there's no actual group that meets and stuff, but there definitely is some weird
There's a
forces.
lot of weird stuff that goes on,
Yeah.
and some of that stuff I've been privy to, not in Hollywood, but just like in finance. I've been able to see certain things, and a lot of that stuff I can't really divulge, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
I've seen some things, and I think it comes down to money more so than like some secret high society that sacrifices babies and drinks blood. I don't think it's that deep, but the amount that people are willing to sell their souls, it's a monetary
It's,
thing.
yeah.
So like Cat Williams brought up the Gary Owens example, like why has Gary Owens never really transitioned into that other thing is because he never did what other people did to sell their soul per se, like
Yeah.
to get to that next level.
And you see it like a lot of very successful people, like you've seen some type of quote unquote selling of the soul.
Right. They did something that is like, where, bless you. They did
Thanks.
something that's like, where are you trying to take us with this one? Or where is this one?
Yeah.
Where is this thing coming from all of a sudden?
Yeah. Like something that just seemed really outlandish or like weird. Even in the
Yeah.
music industry.
Yeah. It's like, where were you taking us with this?
Yeah.
Or like,
Like how everybody in the music industry always does some type of like really dark demonic thing.
right. Or
Like why is
like,
that a thing? Like why everybody gotta do some type of devil? And some people just are trying to be funny. Like you could tell, some people are just trying to be ironic because they know that people are gonna talk. But
yeah. And some people do stuff to be expressive because you can break down like the men wearing dresses in music or like
yeah,
the nail polish thing. The nail polish thing, I'm not on board with that. Like
I never understood why
I
it's so
don't
much.
why it's so hated.
Yeah,
I
it's
would never do
literally
it.
just polish. It's paint.
Let me not say that. I'm not saying I would never do it, but
But it's like actually so crazy that people care about that. It's literally just
it's
paint
literally just
on
pain.
your finger. Like I'm so
Yeah.
pissed.
But yeah, so basically that bombshell interview, he was coming at everybody with stealing jokes, coming at Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer for stealing jokes, and you know the way that they treated Bernie Mac. And it was funny. One of the receipts that people brought up was the whole joke stealing thing. Bernie Mac had a whole episode of Chris Rock stealing his jokes on the Bernie Mac show. Like he was basically pointing it out and like basically
Like, where?
talking crazy about the industry. But in that particular episode about that whole world of comedy,
Yeah,
and Cat Williams was talking about Cedric the Entertainer stealing his joke.
yeah,
It's like he sees the joke and then goes performs it. You know,
yeah.
so a lot of people were shocked by it. For me, I'm not, right? Like I know there's this new generation of people that might not necessarily be familiar with Cat Williams, but he's been like this forever, for the most
Yeah.
part. Like he's always been very introspective, intellectual. Like if you watch a lot of his comedy, he does a lot of that, like give life lessons and advice within his jokes, just
Yeah.
like Dave Chappelle does.
Yeah.
So this is not like this. The whole interview was not necessarily anything new because he's always been pretty introspective and talks about life. It's not just jokes, haha. I'm the like I know a lot of people might think of him as like the pimp and yeah, the cane and all that kind of stuff, but he's done so many other roles.
Yeah.
So to me, it's just like it wasn't that shocking, and I'm glad that he did it because it does bring to light a lot of different things, especially with the Epstein thing coming out and
Yeah, and he says apparently this year is gonna be like a lot of truth exposing. So
right. So hopefully that does happen.
he's about to set. I think he set
He
the
set
tone
the
for the year.
tone.
'Cause
Yeah,
we all
it's up.
that's about to be a year for everybody.
That's why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah,
It's up. Like
the truth telling is coming.
yeah, we gotta be more honest and open and upfront
Yeah,
about the different things that is going on out here.
yeah, beating around the bush doesn't benefit anybody.
Right. And
Like it's like the same thing we were talking about in the beginning of the podcast. Like no more being forgiving, being too nice. Like just be real,
yeah, and people
and that will make things so much easier for everybody. Just being real.
yeah. And there's too many things that just get unchecked. Too many secrets and hidden things and people
That's why I respect it. Even if it's
catering and
years later,
pandering.
like I can respect like I would low key wouldn't even be for myself personally be opposed to being like a Cat Williams, like getting on my soap opera and just airing stuff out, calling people out by name, like because it's like too many things I feel like go unchecked in life, and like people kind of feel like they could just say things or get a one up on you, get just do things without facing any type of call out. So even if it's years later, I don't think there's no statute of limitations on disrespect. There's no statute of limitation on lies, because he was calling out liars.
Yeah. And
So I'm all
come
for
with
calling
evidence.
people out whenever. There's no statute of limitation. I could be 6 years old and I'm still gonna call you out on some stuff you did to me when I was like, 20. You know, like there's no statute of limitations to calling out people in their mess, especially if you didn't really get the chance to do it in real time.
Yeah. So good. I'm
So I
glad.
supported the interview. People were saying he acted crazy, and then, you know, you're saying Sharp was all like,
Yeah.
but why we like? I never said that. Why are we wincing to the truth? Like, let people express
Yeah,
themselves.
the truth is unfortunate, right?
Yeah.
But somebody telling the truth isn't the problem. The
Yeah,
problem is
the people who,
who are making the truth be a thing,
yeah,
making the truth be a fact. They're
yeah,
the problem. So we shouldn't be afraid of, certain things. So,
yeah,
him saying Chris Tucker, we're gonna get the Epstein Island Chris Tucker. If that's a thing, we shouldn't be like, oh, I can't believe he said that. We
yeah,
should be like, okay, well, maybe we should look at this a little bit further. He's making these claims. I've never known Cat Williams to tell a lie.
yeah,
I've never known him to just start putting out information as untruthful. So it's like, maybe we should take a look at this. What does he mean by that, right?
yeah,
And it's kind of like the same thing that people do with Kanye, where Kanye comes out and says something crazy, and it's like, oh, Kanye wilding again.
yeah.
He's off his meds, right? Until you come back a couple years later, and it's
And
like,
he's been right
oh,
about everything so far.
it's like,
Like,
oh,
yeah.
right, with the Diddy thing, when he was doing
And
the Drink Champs
the thing
interview,
too, yeah. And the thing is too, I feel like somebody like Kanye, he was always kind of expressive, but you could tell something
changed.
changed. The industry did something to him, and I feel like you see so much stuff. And I feel like he was kind of a nice person who might not really said stuff too much, and he's just exploding, and we're just seeing that.
Yeah,
We're seeing somebody who's just fed up because we don't know what that world's like.
right. And that's the thing, is like, you can't take you people don't have any real like concept of self, right? You're not in that world. You don't know these people, right? I don't know Cat Williams. I only know him from what's displayed to me. I don't know any of those entertainers, but when somebody that's in that world is describing that world, to a certain extent, we're gonna have to take what they say as to be the truth a little
Yeah,
bit, because they're in that world. I don't know them. I don't know you because I listen to a podcast.
yeah,
I don't know you because you play football. I don't know your personality. If
yeah,
you go on, make a rant video and you cursing and you doing all this stuff on YouTube, I still don't know who you are at the
yeah.
end of the day. So it's a whole different world that exists out there. Just like in finance, right? Like, you wouldn't even the person that works in 9 to 5, like, not well, 9 to 5 is corporate, so we got to take ownership back of
Yeah.
what 9 to 5
Yeah, because
means.
I always felt 9 to 5 was
That's what
corporate.
it is.
Like I literally get to work at 9 a.m. and I leave at 5. Like
Right.
I log out at 5 p.m. Like that's literally what it is. But
Entertainers don't know what's going on in corporate and business, no,
yeah,
and vice versa, right? So if I'm telling you about my experience in corporate, you would have to kind of take that to be what it is,
and some
because
people might
I
think they
work there.
know corporate and they never been in it. They might
Right.
give the attack like, oh, like the finance bros,
Cubicles.
cubicles. Yeah. Meanwhile, most offices are open floor plans now. Like
Yeah,
there's
I've
no
never.
cubicles really
There's,
anymore. Like
yeah, it's
that's the
open
thing of
floor
the
plan.
past. Things are not as rigid as people think. Like people really be out 2 hour lunches and be disappearing and coming back and leaving at 3 p.m. You know, like
Yeah, like,
it's not as rigid as people think. It's not as mundane. Like yeah, it's like the stuff is like, you know, kind of boring so that, at the end of the day, but it's still humans in those worlds who have personalities, who have lives. So
Yeah. So like,
like people trying to tell you about the corporate. It's like nigga, I live that.
yeah,
Like
so somebody's coming up and they're telling you about the experience and
yeah,
of being in that industry. Like, you should listen to it. It shouldn't be so like, oh my God, I can't
you're
believe you're
crazy.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
like, you don't live that life, like that life. So it's like,
And things might not be as far fetched. Like some of the stuff Kanye was even claiming with Kim, like it might not be as far fetched. Like the family doing weird stuff, them trying to get North to go down the same path. That might not be far fetched. Like they literally sat there and didn't bat an eye when Kylie was literally having sex with you know, she was underage. She was 16, 17 with Tyga. Like and that family didn't bat an eye. And Khloe Kardashian came out like years later, like I did worse when I was Kylie's age, so I don't, you know, we don't really care. Like that's a wild. Like there's literally a whole article about how she like literally was basically supporting her doing that.
yeah,
Like that's a sick family.
yeah,
And yeah, and you can still judge Kanye for marrying someone like that when you know who she is and you know who her family is. But so you know he doesn't get off scot free with that. But is it scot free or scotch free?
what is scotch free?
Scot free is it scot free?
Scotch free.
So he doesn't get away with that, but there definitely is probably like, you know, we still can't not like listen to some of the stuff he's saying. He still might, you know,
Yeah,
see things, know things, hear things. Like even with his trainer, like how he's literally in fear of his life. He thinks his trainer is out to get him. Like we don't know if that's true or not because there's a lot of celebrities that die in Hollywood.
yeah. Doctors drugging people. Like, it's that's the thing. It's like, I don't think that there's an Illuminati, but there's definitely like,
Evil people in place.
right, and
Yeah.
and people go into positions of power to use the power. It's not that people just do these things for no reason. So that's the other thing that people need to understand, that there is benefits to power, and people go and try to achieve these things in politics or entertainment for a reason. It's not to go get money and to just be a positive person always. For the most part, it's because you want to be able to utilize and abuse your power to get other and more additional things, and that's how it works. Because that's just business in general. Is how high can I go, right? It's the same reason why do you get a promotion when you work at a job? It's because how high can I go? Because I want to be able to keep elevating and get more power. Like for me, I just got a promotion, right? And now I get to manage and tell other
do.
people what to
Yeah.
do, and that there's a benefit to that because I get to do that to accomplish the things that I wanted to
And you could
accomplish.
do less. Like you might not have to work as hard anymore.
Right, and it's not to abuse my power because that's
Yeah.
not what I'm gonna be able to do anyway.
But
But
it's like you earned it.
there's a
Yeah.
reason for these things. It's not just like, yeah, I'm getting more money, but also a part of that too is I don't have to do certain things anymore. You do it, right?
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
And there's so many people in this world that just like crave that power. So
Right. So a lot of people
these
misuse
worlds.
it.
Yeah, they misuse it, and they, the same thing like when you even bring up like R. Kelly, right? Like he had his own personal stuff going on, right, with his childhood molestation, right? So that obviously has an impact. But even like if he didn't have that, there are people in those positions of power that they know that they have money, they know they have fame, they know that women want to become singers. Like that during
Right.
that time period, there was so many women that wanted to become singers, right? Like the Aaliyahs of the world, Beyonce. That's like all that stuff was really coming up, and people, their family members and the women themselves will do anything to get into that world. So they let themselves, and R. Kelly knows that. So
Yeah.
he uses that power, he uses that, to get what he did, what he wanted.
Right.
So that's the evilness that comes with that power and money. Not necessarily saying that there is like a secret society that exists, but there is like a just with power and money, like the average human will never experience power and money like some of these people have. So you get into that world, and a whole other side of you might come out
Right.
that you might not even realize was there. That's just very pure evil and like malicious.
Yeah. So bottom line, like a lot of the stuff that he discussed in the interview, like, the whole plays about like demasculating, or it was emasculating black men, the light skin agenda with the black men's wives, people joke stealing, the way people treat each other in the industry, like a lot of the different things that he was discussing. I think they're important conversations to have, and like you said, like people shouldn't wince at the truth, and not just saying that we have to take everything he's saying as truth, but there's been too many videos and evidence that I've seen so far backing up the claims, right? So he's saying he turned down a specific role because they were doing XYZ, and you see people that were there say like, yeah, Cat Williams was the only person that said this to me, and it ruined my career doing it. So it's like,
or like the ludicrous thing, like he said, like there was a deal with 15 movies and whatever. He's like, Fast Furious, what movie are we at?
yeah,
Like it's not like he's just saying these crazy things and there's not actual proof that's showing that, like, okay, yeah, maybe Ludacris isn't some weird deal where he has to give $5 million a movie for 15 movies because why is Fast and Furious have so many movies?
right. So yeah, I get maybe people don't want to hear him talk about people's wives, maybe,
Yeah,
and the
or
way
people
that
don't
he
want to.
described them.
Yeah, because there's still people at the end of the day, like
Right. So maybe he shouldn't have
but I'm
necessarily,
ugly,
right. He
ugly
shouldn't have
face.
necessarily said that. But if he's pointing out a specific agenda, I don't know. I wouldn't, if I was in those men's position, I might put hands, feet, and elbows all over him for talking to my wife that way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, him
He is
pointing
pointing
that
out
out.
something. It's just so crazy. Because if I was in that world, I'd be so against the grain. But that's the thing. People who usually are against the grain are the outliers, like a Cat Williams, like a Kanye. Like,
Right. That's what
but
Cat
I would
Williams
just
said. Gary
be
Owens.
so against it. Like I would be like, you guys are weird. Because like that happens in everyday life. There's sheep. We see sheepish behavior on an everyday basis. We see it in our workplaces. We see it in our friend groups. And I always felt like we were outliers or outside the grain. And that's why you see how we end up, right? Like we are on the outside of it a lot now because you just end up getting pushed away because you're not a sheep.
Right.
So I just feel like, unfortunately, that's just a thing in every aspect of life.
What's also crazy too is that whenever these type of interviews pop up, people have such a strong reaction to them. Yeah. But literally nothing that he's saying is any different than the type of stuff that people say on the internet all day anyway.
Literally.
It's literally no different except that they're
not even in that world.
Yeah, they're not in that world. They're not famous. They're not celebrities. So like people don't look at your dumb opinion on Twitter that crazy, but he's not saying anything crazy. It's not like he said something that's so outlandish or blasphemous that people don't say on the internet all day anyway.
It's just, it actually has more validation because it's coming from somebody who's actually in it compared to somebody who's just tweeting from their house. Like he's actually there. He's actually seen it. He's heard the conversations. you know?
Right, like with a lot of these different takes that people have had, with that celebrities have had, they're
Yeah.
not saying anything any different than what y'all be saying on the
Yeah.
internet all day, calling like you, like we were just saying in the topic before, like you saying Cardi B has no money,
Yeah. Like,
huh?
what? Like,
And I don't know that she
I
does,
personally don't
but
like
like
the
what?
girl. Like, I don't know her personally, but I personally don't like how she acts. But I would never say she don't got money. Like, that's stupid. Like, she's one of the top selling hip hop artists, like,
Like
ever.
people just
So,
literally ever, which I don't know if people know that.
yeah. People are really kind of slow.
But yeah, it's just his takes weren't that crazy to me, and that's like really a
Yeah.
lot of my takeaways. Like, yeah, this is because remember we've had this conversation before about the dress thing,
Yeah.
and like
We talked
me,
about this
we've
probably on our
talked,
podcast before.
yeah, we probably yeah, like this has been a thing that I've mentioned, like. Or like Steve Harvey's hair being fake. It was funny. I was just watching. I saw a clip that somebody posted a mall talking about back when they were on a Joe
Like,
Budden
he
thing.
Benz talked about it.
He was like talking about Steve Harvey's hair
Yeah.
being fake, and he was like,
And they're in the know.
right.
So,
He was like, y'all didn't know that, and then
yeah.
Joe was like, no, ma, nobody knew that,
Yeah. But they know it because they're,
and Cat Williams brought that up, so it's just like, you know what I mean? So it's
yeah.
not anything crazy that he said that was so outlandish or
Yeah.
unknown. Like we know that there's an agenda because you can clearly see it. Now I
Yeah.
don't know if there's an organization specifically behind it.
Yeah. I don't think there's people sitting in a circle with candles and having meetings.
Yeah, but
But,
the money is the unification. So
yeah.
what you're willing to do for money, there's a lot of people that have money
Yeah.
available. So if you want to look at it that way of being like the executives, the higher ups, the CEOs, if you want to look at them as being the quote unquote Illuminati, yeah, sure. But I don't
Yeah.
think that there's an actual
Group.
Illuminati group that
Yeah.
you get membership to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just people with money.
Yeah.
And people with money interact with people with money and they use each other to get different leverages and different things. And like, yes, we know
Yeah.
that's the thing because that's what business is at the root of it, at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
It's just,
In
yeah.
corporate, right? Like, that's just what it is. Like, that's what investing is. Like,
Yeah.
I have money. You have a business that's making money. I want to
Yeah.
give you some money, so let's both make some more money. Now we
Yeah.
have a relationship, and let's go try to be tactical and see how we can
Yeah.
make. Like that's just
People just
business.
care. People just want money. And
Yeah, that's really
lots
what
of
it comes
times,
down to.
unfortunately, evilness is a moneymaker.
Because
Like, the deepest, darkest, weirdest things in this world are the moneymakers.
right, and a lot of people have a price, and then they feed into it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. People want to do a lot of things for money.
Like,
And
you can see the
sometimes
porn world, I would consider somewhat evil because it's
somewhat
very
it's the
exploitative.
exploitative.
Exploitative of women, of men too. Like, the men are involved.
It's probably the worst.
Yeah. But unfortunately, the consumers will always be there because sex is just a human desire.
And
So because the consumership is there, that industry is always going to be there.
yeah,
But
let's not break it down because I could do a topic on that for like 4 hours.
yeah,
But it's just funny how nobody looks at that way.
yeah, as is evil. Basically.
Nothing that Cat Williams said was as crazy as that whole industry is.
Yeah, I feel like the industry is looked at very lighthearted because it's looked at like women co-opted into make it a woman empowerment, sexual liberation thing, and it's like get your money. Like if some people really don't care, right? Like I get it. Some people really don't care. They don't view sex like that at all. But you have to look inwards how there's a lot of women who probably really do care and just do it for money and because they're that desperate for money, and that's sad. And it's exploitative and it's this evil industry and like that's what like we said, like that's why the Illuminati doesn't exist, but they know that sex sells, so they're gonna make people do crazy things. Like Aaliyah being 15 having sex with R. Kelly is crazy, but it's that's just the evilness that comes with the word. Illuminati didn't tell her to do that. There's nobody that told her to do that, but it just happened because she wanted the fame, she wanted the money, and people, sex itself is a part of that whole humiliation type of what are you gonna do for the money? What are you gonna do for the success?
I was in one of our trips to one of these places, one of these dance places where you throw money. Dance places where you throw money. I was talking to one of them one time. We could talk about the specific place off. Well, yeah, we could talk about it off the camera.
We're in New York.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's one picture.
Well, no, it's not. But
we even talked to him when we was in Toronto.
Oh, okay. So
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, realistically, it's only been Toronto and New York.
Yeah. So, anyway, I was talking to one of them, and there's a.
Was it at our usual spot?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was there's another spot in New York that we haven't been to, and they were saying how like they wouldn't want to go there because if they went there, then they would make them do other stuff.
Yikes.
And
Like it's kind of more of like a pimpish type of behavior there.
it's I can't really specify, but we could talk about it off camera.
Yeah.
But only reason why I'm talking about it off camera is not because I'm not afraid to share it. I'm afraid to share it, but I don't know how YouTube rules work.
Yeah, you don't want to like yeah.
But basically, they would have to do more at that particular location than the spot that they are presently at.
Yeah.
Which it kind of shows everybody kind of has a price a little bit.
Yeah.
And for that particular individual, their price is not that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But at the other spot, if you went and talked to them over there, you might get something similar. It's like, I don't really want to be doing this, but this is what it is. So
and those same women, like lots of times in that industry, people, the unaliving, I would say, happens a lot of themselves.
Yeah.
Like because they're very like they get into depressions, drug usage because. Like notice too when we're in there, a lot of times they're drinking because it's like they don't want to be there. They need to cope. They need to
especially the weirdos that be in there.
And that's why it's funny because I feel like anytime we're in there, they
gravitate.
Yeah, towards us because they see we're not weirdos. We're just there for the vibes. Like we're there, like we're just cool. Like we respect what they do. But
and that's the thing.
A lot of weird people are in there that probably creep them out.
I do respect the industry. I just don't want a woman to ever feel like she has no out.
That's her last option. Yeah.
She has no other option.
And I wouldn't want a woman to do it that feels like she's doing it just for that. Like if you're gonna do it, like I want the people want to. Yeah, want it. Like you love your body. You like to show your body off. Cool. Like some people genuinely like that. Some people are definitely sexually liberated. Like they don't view sex as any way. They don't view it as that serious. Then that's the people who I feel like should be in those industries. Like it shouldn't be like to the point where people are doing it because they have to, or people are forced into it. 'Cause a lot of people are forced into those industries too. Like runaways when they're younger, kids, younger girls that just have no way in life, and they come across a boyfriend or whatever, or a guy that gets them into that world. Like that's what I don't like. If you're gonna be in that world, then you should want to be in it.
Yeah. So hopefully a lot gets exposed this year. But yeah, I thought the interview was important.
I feel like 2024 is a truth year.
Yep.
Everybody's gonna be living in their truth.
Well, we will.
And we're gonna be on our Katt Williams this year on the pod. If whatever topics we have, if whatever topic is presented to us makes us have to be Katt Williams, and we will turn into Katt Williams. Cause I ain't scared of nothing. Like life is really not. If you think about it, life is really fake. Like nothing's that serious. I don't care to talk about anything. Realistically, like what's anybody gonna do if I talk about anything that happened in my life on here? Who's gonna check me? So, like life is really not that deep. So I'm on my Katt Williams type of time this year too. So everybody better tread lightly, cause I'm fed up.
Anyway,
I feel like I relate to Katt Williams. He's a Virgo too, He's a Virgo.
And at that point, it's been a great episode. Thank you guys for tuning in.
You know how we get us Virgos. We got receipts. And we come with the fire
so
we
far.
need to.
First pod of 2024. We're not standing on anything.
We get our respect this year, Virgos. We
appreciate you guys listening to this point.
Everybody on their BS.
And this audio experience. This has been the A Couple of Things podcast with the Virgo and Alex.